children, I'm sure something different comes to mind for each of us when we think about them. Maybe we think about them laughing, playing, or even causing a ruckus, but not dying. There's just something unnatural about children dying. But cancer, something I'm sure we've all heard about, gives no reprieve to the young. And so sadly, childhood cancer is a reality, and every year kids die because of it. Now, I don't want to spend the next couple minutes reciting facts about childhood cancer that any one of you could just Google. Instead, I'd like to take you on a brief journey that led up to my need to become educated on this disease, on a disease that the National Cancer Institute states is the leading cause of death by disease in children and adolescents from 0 to 19, the disease known as cancer. Now, it wasn't until 2008, me being in my early 30s, that I had my first personal experience with cancer. A good friend of mine was diagnosed with cervical cancer, which had metastasized or spread. And for 2 years, she battled this disease before she finally succumbed. Prior to that, my only knowledge of cancer came from what I saw in the news, right? Smoking causes lung cancer. Various lifestyles will either put you at greater or lesser risk of developing the disease. But yet, even after witnessing firsthand the horrors associated with not only the disease, but the treatment, I still continued to smoke, and I still continued to live a lifestyle that was conducive to developing some form of cancer. Now, this is around 2010, and from then until 2017, I lived my life as anybody does. But in early 2017, I met the love of my life, Kayla, and 2 years later, Jasmine Gina Barrow was born. And everything changed, including my fears. Right now, my biggest worry had nothing to do with myself. It had to do with the welfare of my daughter. And it was in this mindset one day, staring down at my little girl, that the thought of some form of childhood cancer just ravaging her, it reared its ugly head. And two things in my mind just sparked. One, I knew I needed to quit smoking. Two, I needed to become educated on this threat, this potential threat to my little girl. And so my pursuit to learn about childhood cancer began. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and claim to be an expert, but I will say that after some research, I definitely know more now than I did before. There are many forms of childhood cancer, and the American Cancer Society has an abundance of literature on each of them. Leukemia, for instance, is the most common form of cancer to affect the age group of 0 to 19, and it accounts for 30% of all yearly diagnoses. Then you have the lymphomas, brain tumors, spinal cord tumors. In fact, if there is a place in your body that a cell can grow, a cancerous tumor can develop. But as frightening as this is, and it is frightening, I also found some other important facts. For instance, childhood cancer is terrible, yes, yet it is quite rare. The American Cancer Society estimated that for 2018, just under 16,000 in the age group from 0 to 19 were diagnosed with some form of childhood cancer. They go on to estimate that of that number, just under 2,000 died. Now, when we take into account that for 2018, the U.S. Census Bureau stated that there were over 75 million in that age group, we do see that it is actually quite rare. And having done the math, the chances of a child being diagnosed of some form of cancer is less than 1%. It's actually 0.02%. I also learned that the 5-year survival rate for a few of these forms of cancer have increased dramatically over the last 50 years. Leukemia, again, let's get back to that one. In 1975, it saw a 5-year survival rate of right around 57%. In 2012, that has been up to 92%. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, another common cancer in children and adults, in 1975 saw a 5-year survival of 42%, whereas in 2012 that was up to 91%. And finally, another thing that I learned was that more advanced treatments are on the horizon. In fact, Dr. Malcolm Smith of the National Cancer Institute believes that with further research and development into immunotherapy and precision medicine, we can hope to see some of these survival rates be sustained or increased. But just as important, we can see an elimination for some of the side effects of current treatment, such as chemotherapy. So let me conclude. Today I've given you all just a little piece of my life as it pertains to my desire to learn about childhood cancer. We found there are many types of cancer that threaten our children, and yet the threat is minimal, as childhood cancer is actually quite rare. We also found that there are new and more advanced medical procedures on the horizon. But of all of these things, what I would like you to take away from this, that I feel is as important, if not more so, than the facts on childhood cancer is this. I had a fear. The fear of this disease ravaging my little girl. And I confronted this fear by learning about it, by becoming educated, by seeking knowledge. Because knowledge is power, and it's a power that we can all attain. Thank you.